Hey, everybody. Welcome back to the channel. If you are new here, this is Joe and Jay Outspoken. If you are returning, thanks so much, right, Joe?
For coming back. Thanks for coming back. I thought we lost you after the last one. So
man,
thanks.
yeah. Sometimes the content may be a little too much for some of our folks. So make sure you hit that like button, that thumbs up, subscribe to the channel. And what are we going over this week?
So we're going to talk a little bit about ends of time. End of times, with so much going on out in the world today, and it's such a spiritual awakening happening in America. You know, you're seeing it in college campuses, you're seeing it in stadiums, you're seeing it and not just here in America, but you're seeing it all over the world. Right? A lot of people coming to, and I just want to. We're not going to specifically talk about any specific religion, but it looks like they're all coming to Christianity, right? Everybody's kind of a big awakening. And why not, right? I mean, we've got so much stuff going on in the world today. I mean, negative stuff that's happening around us every day.
For sure.
That people are looking for, I don't want to say an out, but something to relieve themselves from today's normalities that's happening, right? From anywhere from the transformer community trying to take our children to just, wars going on across the world. People need to find a positive note, right? So a lot of people are turning to Christianity. Right. So what we want to do is we want to talk a little bit about, is there any correlation between the end of days and this and what's happening today, or are we just seeing what we want to see? You know what I mean?
Right.
So I think it's gonna be a good topic. I think we try to stay neutral as far as except when it comes to Daddy Trump, but we try to stay neutral, right? But again, I think we've said this several times in our different episodes that we are Christians, right? So we are of that faith. So
100.
So we do reference things from the Bible. So don't get offended, but that's how we roll. So
there you go.
So what do you think? What do you think about, when you and I were talking about this topic, it sounded kind of like, oh my God, end of days, right? We're all like, is this gonna be one of those episodes where it's gonna be like just gloomy?
Gloom and doom.
Yeah, but I think in talking and going over it, I mean, I think it's a lot of realization that, hey, there's a creator, right? And at the end of the day, we have to answer to somebody,
right?
And why not? Why not to someone that we were created by? So, especially again in these times, right? When you got everybody crying about the environment, and even though the plastic bags have increased in California, and that's supposed to be that place where they don't even use them anymore. They charge you to get a bag. But what's funny? I'm just going to go off subject because this is really idiotic about California. They changed something to where they made the bags thicker because of recycling. So now it's creating more
tonnage of plastic.
Yeah. So good job, California. Kind of going with the electric car things too.
Oh my God. Well, if you haven't read about it or heard about it, look into the Fall of Rome. It's it's very, very interesting. And every great civilization that has fallen in the past has followed a similar path to what we're on.
Exactly.
Right? So really think about that. But anyways, you guys buckle up, get your popcorn and your soda or water or whatever your libation is, and
or alcohol.
And let's get into this.
All right, let's do it.
Everybody, welcome back. Here we go.
Are you all right, buddy?
Nah, I got a cold or something. It's perfect for the end of times, right?
Yeah, clearly. Hopefully it's not end of your time. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Yeah, this is it. The clock's ticking. The talk's clicking.
Now doing interviews for the J part of JoJ.
You don't have to be named Jay. It can just be anything with a J. And
just kidding. So here's a little something that I saw somewhere, and I'm like, it made sense, right? And I'm thinking, it made sense to the point where it was a little bit scary that it caught my attention, right? So it's something that someone put out there as a timeline, and it was kind of interesting. So I'm like, I read it a couple times. I'm thinking, wow, okay. So let me just read it. So this is what they wrote. It's been approximately 2,000 years from Adam to Abraham, right? 2,000 years from Abraham to Jesus, right? And about 2,000 from Jesus to today. That's a total of about 6,000 years, right? Give or take. The earth was created in 6 days, and God rested on the seventh day. So is this a precursor to the beginning of like the 1,000-year reign of Jesus when he comes the second time? You know, that's like the dates are so scary. Like, so like this seventh is like are we just gonna get rest for like 7,000 years, and then all of a sudden Jesus comes back, and then we get 1,000 years of the reign of Jesus on earth, and the numbers started adding up. I'm like, wait a minute, what's going on here?
There's a coinky dink.
It was like there's that's a very crazy coinky dink.
Yeah.
So I think that's something that I talked to you about. You're like, hey man, this is probably a good topic to come about. Hopefully we make it to that day to talk about it.
Right.
Let's talk about the end of days. So anyway, that kind of started made me think, because we're seeing all these things, especially about Israel, right? All this stuff that's happening in Israel, right?
Well, that the river in the Middle East that
appeared,
out of nowhere, and it speaks about that in the Bible, that happening. So I mean, there's just some crazy things. Let me read a verse here really quick. It's 1 Timothy 4:1. The Spirit clearly says that in later times, some will abandon the faith and follow deceiving spirits and things taught by demons.
Wow. I mean, I don't want to point fingers.
Well, when you start thinking about it, how many people have started to, there's never been a mass exodus of the Christian faith as much as there has been in the last probably decade, right?
Yeah.
A really small amount of time that you've seen entire generations not believing in anything spiritual.
We're seeing that today, man.
Yeah.
Like there is nothing. Like you talk to people, it's funny because people, how you got these guys out in the street that ask those questions like, hey, what's the continent of, and they're okay.
So how many continents are there on the globe?
Yeah. So there's one.
3? I don't know.
And there's one that asks, hey, do you believe in God? It is amazing to see. It's like, nah, get away. And then that community that I'm not going to mention, how angry they get when you bring up God, like if you're out there with a poster, or you're out there like at the Planned Parenthood with, a poster, they'll go rip it out. I mean, they go violent. Right. And
there's anything about Jesus or God.
Exactly. That's the thing that from what that passage you read, I start thinking about like, all right. I mean, there's a lot going on. I mean, like who's in our schools right now, or in our children's school teaching like crazy stuff right now?
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, and I'm not saying the teachers in general, but like we have the Transformers story time.
Yeah. We're allowing people to completely, so, our schools, and we've talked about this in previous episodes, schools have so much funding to pay for, and you only have so many hours in a day, for kids to learn stuff. And we talked about this again in one of our last episodes about when we were in school, we took driver's ed.
Mm-hmm.
Well, that doesn't exist anymore.
No.
Right?
You got to do that on your own now.
You got to do that on your own. So what did they replace that amount of time with? Now, that was only in your, sophomore year or whatever.
No.
But what did they replace that time with? Now, I don't have a problem if they replaced it with math or, some basic stuff that maybe some kids need and learning. The sad thing is most of these schools, if you look at their, grade point averages and everything and what they're actually physically learning, they're not learning squat, man.
Yeah, they're like that candy, dum-dums.
Yeah, and the thing is they know how many, genders there are, and they can, they're all standing behind whatever, thing of the moment there is, between a couple of countries in the Middle East and a couple of countries in Eastern Europe, they know which side to pick on that, which is silly because I remember when we were in school, there were conflicts around the world. Could you name one of them right now? I can't remember them because that wasn't an important thing to us, man. That was an adult thing. We were trying to pass our English and math and history tests and everything else, and
try to date little Susie.
Yeah,
she's a hottie.
Did you date Susie too?
You did too?
Wow.
Wow, bro. I thought it was.
I don't think there was a Susie in there anywhere.
I know. I just made that. That was a made up name because I'm protecting the innocent.
Yeah.
But you know what? You're right. I remember back then, Gen Xers, right?
Susie's 50 now, so just saying.
Yeah, I'm not like a little Susie now, guys. All right, it's kind of gross. So anyway, us Gen Xers back then, if you remember clearly, especially in our school, half went to like Cal State San Bernardino, right? The other half went to like just trade school. We took small mechanics or a body shop or whatever. And we ran with it.
Engines.
Yeah, we ran with it. And that was basically it, right? And that's what we knew. And you're right. Most of our classes, we had like minimum requirements that we had to do. Everybody had for 4 years had English and math and all the basics to get into college. And there was some like psychology. We had some couple of different things, home economics, things of that nature. But could you imagine like eradicating some of these necessary classes to make room for
nonsense,
DEI?
Yeah,
basically, right? And believe it or not, I don't know if you noticed this, but DEIs across the U.S. are failing. They're firing them. They're getting rid of them.
Oh yeah.
There's a lot going on with that. Which again goes to like, what's happening? What are we seeing?
Yeah.
What changed that people are. So here's another thing based on that verse that you just read, right?
We'll leave the verse up here so you guys can see it.
Yeah. I think the biggest thing about that captivates me and makes me think like, oh, okay, I'm seeing that right now. So I was raised Catholic, right? So we all follow the head of the church, which is the Pope. And have you seen the things the Pope's been doing? Seriously, like
yes.
My mom would be spinning in her grave right now if she knew that was happening. Like she would have left the Catholic religion in a heartbeat thinking that. And my mom was the nicest person ever.
Oh yeah.
But we always, in my household, that stuff is talked behind locked doors, closed doors. That sexuality stuff, you don't bring it around.
Well,
right?
That's the way it should be to begin with.
Absolutely, that's how I raised my kids. You don't bring that. You don't bring that out. But now the Pope is running amok. And that right there, that verse, bro. I'm like, oh man, that's the first thing that comes to mind, right?
Yeah, and this is a dumb analogy to it, but people are like, well, we should be able to voice how we are behind the bedroom. Okay, so how about both of us have like stomach issues, so we go out and voice and we start parades that we have gut issues and we poop all over the place all the time.
Wow.
Seriously, that's something.
Well, they do that in San Francisco.
yeah, they do. They have a what's
it's
his
legal.
name? DeSantis had a map for that. That's funny. Yeah. So it is silly. Anything that is private to you and your spouse or significant other, whatever you want to. And this is however you identify, whatever. Who cares? I mean, we don't agree with some of the stuff, but like somebody that says
we're not taught to hate, though.
But we're not taught to hate, yeah. And somebody that says, well, we don't agree with you eating meat or whatever. It's not that we can't be friends, right?
No, absolutely.
It's
I'm not going to eat that delicious cheeseburger in front of you if it bothers you,
right?
You know what I mean? You could go ahead and eat your plant-based burger. I'm not going to question it.
Good luck with that. I tell you, man, if they told me you can't eat meat anymore for whatever reason, you got some weird thing in your digestive system, you can't do it anymore. And it's like, well, but you can have those plant-based burgers. I'd be like, I'm just going to eat a plant then. I'm not going to eat that weird burger thing.
That's what people ate back in the days was plants.
I don't.
Well, you could always have,
this is why I know the end of days are coming, because we're turning plants into meat so we can pretend we're eating meat so we can pretend we're something we're not. So, oh my gosh.
Well, that's already happening with sexual deviations of people's preference. But I was gonna say, what's his name? The Microsoft guy. You can eat his
Bill Gates.
Yeah, you could eat his lab grown meat.
Oh, yum!
That
Have you
just
seen how they made it?
nasty, bro. You could eat his lab grown meat. I mean, I'm not lying, but that just didn't sound right. Anyway,
well, they use like
I don't know.
It almost looks like
don't ruin the tacos I just had.
You know those delicious.
Don't ruin those with conversation of him. But anyway, that verse was, I think that's a good one you started with, man. Look at you.
Yeah.
Look at you all of a sudden.
So the next one kind of takes it to the next level is Matthew 24:7. Nations will rise against nations and kingdoms against kingdoms. There will be famines and earthquakes in various places. So most of this talk is about, us having a bunch of issues. Now, the one little caveat I want to put in here is that in the days of Jesus, if you read the Bible, right, the people at that time, so that's 2,000-ish years ago at this point, right? They thought the end of times were coming soon for them.
Yeah.
At that time. So that is the thing that people now are like, well, everybody's been Chicken Little for 2,000 years saying it's the end of time and, that it is coming. But your little story about the 2,000 years, that's a big one, man. And it really
is, that's why I said, I'm like, oh, this kind of scary.
Yeah. And there's, it's kind of there's scary omens that are afoot right now.
So here's the thing. A lot of people that maybe in older generations, the baby boomers, maybe, saw things in their generation, right? That pointed to the direction like, oh man, the end of times are coming, right? I think every generation kind of says that they see them themselves. I'm sure that when 9/11 happened, we're all thinking, no, the same thing, end of times and stuff like that's happening because of terrorism around the world. But never have I seen, and I'm saying this from just my experience, okay? Never have I seen so much or so many young people coming to these events, right? To these I forget what they call them, rebirths, or I don't know what they're calling them, but these huge Christian events, right? Where it's non-denominational. They have the music that they're playing, they're rocking out.
Yeah. It's the part of the second Jesus revolution.
There you go. Yeah. So and I've never seen it like I'm seeing it today, right? The first Jesus revolution was that movie, right? The Jesus Revolution movie.
Yeah, and if you guys haven't seen it, it's actually a really awesome movie. Regardless if you're a Christian or not, the movie's actually done extremely well.
And it is based on a true story, and I think it's a Calvary 100%. Church that it's referring to. But either way, that I've not seen so many young people going and getting involved in things like this. It's unheard of. So here's the thing. What do you think has led to that? Do you think like today's politicians, today's direction of living, our way of living has created this? What do you think is leading us into this second Jesus revolution where people are coming to Christianity? Do you think people are lost and are looking for answers, or do you think they're just like, I'm gonna give it a shot? Or do they really fear like the end of times is coming? What do you think about all this?
Well, I don't think there's many people fearing the end of times. I really don't. I think that happens as you get older, and it's the reason that when you walk into a church, and especially, so I was raised in a Baptist church. So when you walked in the back and you're looking at the back of all the pews, almost everybody had gray hair, right? So you never worried about the older people because older people know they only have X amount of time. Now, that's the crazy thing. All of us only have X amount of time. We're all walking towards the same cliff. We all just get there at different times, right?
Like they said, there's only two guarantees in life: taxes
and death. That's it. I mean, and as a youngster, it's like, oh, I'm 23 years old. I can challenge the world. Well, You know, you may get out on the freeway tomorrow and some freak accident happens and you lose your life, you know.
We've lost friends from high school.
Absolutely.
In high school.
I remember the one guy that we were about ready to graduate, and he
Miles F.
Yeah, and lost his life, you know.
Great kid. Great drama kid.
Yeah. So, you know, those kind of things happen. So kind of back to it, I think that so many people are lost in the world. Now, step away from religion of any kind for just a moment and think about young kids and think about ourselves, you know.
Mm-hmm.
You know, you wander through kind of a darkness for a long time, wondering what your purpose is, you know, who's your mate going to be, if that's something you even care about. A lot of people, their number one thing on their mind is to make money. Have a career, you know, all those kind of things. And, you know, guys, money is necessary. You know, it's a necessary evil. It's one of those things. I don't care that I have money. It's just, there's a lot of people that need money from me to pay the bills and all that kind of stuff. So folks walk around with this giant hole in their heart, and what do they fill it with? Well, they fill it with everything. We've talked about this before too. You know, they fill it with, whether it's alcohol, whether it's sex, whether it's, you know, stuff. I mean, what's one of the things they say in depression is one of the number one things folks do? They go eat.
Mm-hmm.
Another big thing is, what else do they do? They go spend money.
Bro, so are you saying we're depressed?
Oh my gosh, I must be horribly depressed.
We eat like no other. Anyway, sorry.
So yeah, all of these things, you know, are all these artificial fillers that you're trying to put into this hole in your soul or your heart or whatever you want to call it. And you're trying to fill this up because you feel something is missing.
Yeah.
And you're never finding the completion to, you know, to fill it. And I truly believe that a lot of folks are seeing this from what they're seeing is from friends and other folks. And so I'm going to get a little personal here. So, you know, in your life, have you felt lost?
Extremely. I think it was after my mother's passing, I was lost.
Yeah. Me too, for, you know, all kinds of other various reasons and stuff. And, in the last, let's just have it like 6 months. Do you really feel empty?
No, absolutely not.
I don't either, man.
Absolutely not. I feel like my cup is overflown,
right?
And I need a bigger cup. You know what I mean? Like, let's go with the tall boy. I hate to reference beer when I'm talking about religion, but you know, no, I absolutely have not. I mean, if you're asking me,
the only thing some people understand. So
hey, the shoe fits. Yeah. But you're absolutely right. Like looking back in that time, and I want to say dark time for me, because it was a dark time. You know, a lot of things happens, and and you know, you have this disconnect and almost a like, I hate to say it, but like you have like an issue with your creator. You know, and so I, you know, lost sheep in the wilderness kind of thing, and not giving two hoots, just living my life. But yeah, man, ever since I stopped feeling sorry for myself and thinking about that, and now, you know, found myself again going back to church and starting to, you know, study the gospel and things like that. I feel renewed. You know what I mean? And I love it. And you know, hey, you guys need to find your own, you know, version of what we've done. But it's great for me, you know.
And, you know, before today, because I mean, we talk a lot, right? We've been friends forever.
Yeah.
But have I asked you that prior to this? No. So we haven't even talked about something like this. And I knew as soon as I asked him, because I know how he's been and how he feels about, you know, the world and his aspects based on other stuff we've talked about.
Yeah.
And I'm the same way. So kind of full circle, going back to what you had originally asked. I really believe that a lot of these young kids are starting to find Jesus, starting to find God, starting to find their way in the world. And they're learning that hole can get filled. Right. And again, guys, we're not on here trying to preach to you. We're just trying to get, you know, obviously,
sing it, brother.
This is our interpretation of what has happened to us realistically in life. And, you know, I folks will say, well, Jesus is like the tooth fairy. It's just a made up kind of thing and everything. Well, just so you know,
just so real quick, opinions matter.
Yeah,
just not yours.
Just not yours. Yeah. And he is a historical figure, so he did exist at one time, right? And everything.
And that's the biggest thing. And not to get off topic about the end of days, and Jesus,
he's a big part of it. So,
but
just saying.
Yeah, you're right. It is. I mean, you could go back to other religious figures of the past, right? But Jesus is the one that was, most documented, right? And from different people, and not just all like followers of Jesus. You had some writings that are found in ancient Rome that speak of certain things that happen that are in the Bible, right? There's just so much. Like today's calendar is based off what?
The birth
of Jesus, right? So I mean, like, come on, even scientists like, okay, let's start a date. No one's going to start a date that we all go by on a fictitious character, right? Like, oh, Barney was born around this time. Well, you know what I mean? So they have to get a one.
We'll have to look that up. I don't know when he was born,
so. but the thing is, he was the most documented. They have evidence, historical evidence that leads back to that point. To like, all right, let's start the timeline at 2,000 years ago, right? And that's why we have, the year 2024, and whatnot.
Yeah.
But so you could deny it, but then the reality is that it's fully documented, not like those genders that are not, right? This is a fully documented part of history. So, and I think you're right. I think a lot of people are feeling that gap, and why are they feeling that gap? Now, here's the second part of that question, or here's the second question to that is, why are people feeling that gap? Why are they feeling this emptiness, this loneliness? Why has suicides increased? Why are we seeing this now? So could it be that we have probably never been so fed so much BS by society that we're hitting walls every corner with DEI, with the transgender community, with the politicians, with the wars, with the who's right, who's wrong, free Israel, free Palestine, like is it all this coming to a head to where people are like, you know what, F everything, I'm done with all that. I need something that's not going to be fed down my throat, but gives me some kind of awakening, gives me some kind of, and I think what this is ultimately what people are looking for is that peace, that inner peace, So what, in your opinion, what is causing all this? The emptiness, the disconnect. What do you think is doing? You heard my opinion. What do you think it is?
Well, I think that,
say it, brother. Don't be scared.
The evilness that Satan has, he's here on the, now, whether you want to start saying the Antichrist is here or what have you.
The Satan's always been here.
Yeah. Well, he has, but here's the thing is that, like the Baphomet statue, it's now been in how many different, like city, halls or whatever. That one.
Could you clarify what that is?
Okay, so that's the goat statue that happens to have two children right at its knees, and it is.
Wasn't that in the Capitol building?
It is. It's for the Satanic Temple, right? And here's the thing. So I know there's some people out there that might say something to the effect of, "Well, you darn Christians, you're supposed to only believe in yours, then these people should be able to believe in their thing too." Well, let me straighten something out for you. If you want to believe in Satan, then you are knowingly, willingly believing in anti-God, right? Because without God, without Jesus, there is no Satan. Why would there be? If you think Jesus and God is a fairy tale, Satan would be a fairy tale also. So for the
especially
people
with the hoofs and all that stuff.
The hoofs and all that.
You don't got no hoofs. Remember, that was God created the angels. That was his most beautiful angel.
That's
Lucifer.
And that's right. And that's a big one for people to understand that Lucifer was like the most beautiful angel in heaven.
Wow. Clearly not as beautiful as Jay and I, but he was close.
Wow. Poor guy.
But no, he was, right. And
Yeah.
the guy got a little crazy, cast
Yeah.
it down, and here we are.
Well, so think about that. You have an entity that was so close to God, knew his power, knew everything about him, and still would go against his will because he had so much. So once, the human race was,
He was jealous.
he was very jealous
of the humans.
Yeah. And there's a lot of, you can watch even like the History Channel on a lot of this kind of stuff, and it's really interesting. But one thing to go back on the whole deal with Jesus, Jesus was a poor carpenter, right? He had kind of had nothing. Rode into town on a donkey. I mean, he had nothing. He was buried in somebody else's tomb, right, before he rose.
Yeah, rich follower, I believe, Joseph or something.
Yeah. So, and we have so much information on him historically. There are people that they built pyramids, huge pyramids for, and they have sarcophagi with writings and all this kind of stuff, and we don't know who they are.
Yeah.
We have no clue in history who these people are.
Yeah.
And so
we guess off the hieroglyphics that they have.
Right.
We have the wild guess, but
well, there's some of them that they've just closed them back up and said, you know what, we don't have enough information. We're just going to leave them here because why take them out? They're, too decomposed or whatever. And when you start thinking about that, there were people that were wealthy and rich enough that in the span of 30 years kind of thing, built a pyramid and these, big areas. And by the way, a little asterisk there, people aren't buried in pyramids. They're buried in pyramid complexes. The pyramids were for something else. That's a whole different episode there. But yeah. So Jesus was definitely a huge historical figure. So whether or not you believe in his superpowerness, that he's the son of God, he definitely existed. So, so one of the scary things with end of times, and I'll read this one. It's Matthew 24:40-41. 2 men will be in the field. One will be taken and the other left. 2 women will be grinding with a hand mill. One will be taken and one will be left. So what is that referring to? The rapture, right? So that's the scary thing that people think about in, Christianity. And then, of course, the rest of the world thinks about. And if you've ever seen
Left Behind, bro,
Left Behind, yeah.
I read the books when I was younger, and they
scared
me. And then you bring this up now, bro, and I'll be driving by myself right now, and then.
Well, and I'm gonna do these back to back because this other one really means something. So it really pertains to what we're talking about now. It's like, are we seeing signs? Do we know? It's going to happen tomorrow or next week or week after that. Mark 13:32. But about that day or hour, no one knows, not even the angels in heaven, nor the Son, but only the Father. So not even Jesus himself knows when the last day is coming, right?
Mm-hmm.
So it's one of those things. We are just going to be seeing signs and all that kind of stuff.
So just for a little timeline reference, I know everybody's thinking well, we've been hearing this forever. It's been written in the Bible for thousands of years and blah, blah. And so us Christians, we've learned to understand one thing, that our timeline and God's timeline, very different, right? Very different. So, and let me expand on that. So clearly when we're born, right, we start at day one, right? And then we grow up and blah, blah, and here we are as adults. When God created man, he was an adult, right? He was, boom. He was, they used to live back to 800, 900 years old back then. So we don't.
Methuselah.
So we don't, clearly the timelines between God and humanity are very different, right? So that's why you always hear Christians say, in God's time, not mine, or,
right.
And these things are, so will it happen during our time? We don't know. Right? Could all these things that we see that are coincidental are they signs? Yeah. Well, no one says that it's going to happen from one day to the next, and right. It could be a span of one day to us is 1,000 years to God, right? And so we don't know exactly what that is. Just like that story I told you about the 2000, you know.
Yeah, that's pretty crazy when you think about it.
Exactly.
And we were right there.
Yeah, and we're in that time frame, guys. So it's important. I think one of the things that we want to discuss more about the end of days was the fact that there's so many things right now happening in our society, in our world, that could lead anyone to think that our days are numbered. If not 10 years, 20, 30, 50 years from now, our days are numbered.
Yeah.
Right. And here's a scary thought. No, not so much for me. I live my life. I've had some good times, some crazy times. We've got plans for some other crazy times. But my kids, kids, right? Those are the ones that I worry about.
What are we leaving for them?
Yeah. That's the biggest thing. Like, are we going to leave this earth to just chaos, like disorganization, to like, hey, you fix the problems, you know? Like, I can't do that, you know. I'd rather, there's a saying, I think I said it to you, like, if there is to be war, let it be now, so that there's peace during my time of my children.
Yeah.
Right. So let it be
we
now.
Can have it now.
Yeah. So we could handle the war, and then our children have the peace.
Right.
Because that's, as a parent, that's the important thing, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
So,
and I'm with you. You know, I mean, I feel horrible for children growing up in this generation. Right?
Oh yeah.
You know, going through school with such confusion. So growing up as a kid, you already have so many things that you're trying to sort on a daily basis. You know, and especially once you get into high school and everything, once hormones and all that stuff start. You know, that's a whole peer pressure and everything.
I don't want to talk about that.
But the younger time, we are huge influences on our children. Absolutely. Huge influences. So whatever we say and do and show, so you know, CPS will come and take a child away from an abusive family. Now, let's say it's a mother and father that fight all the time. Now, they never do anything to the kid, but they just fight and they throw stuff and beat each other up and everything. Would CPS maybe take the kids away?
Yeah, I would think so.
Yeah,
absolutely. Because that environment's not safe for the child.
Well, why? They're not doing anything to the kid.
It's not safe for the child.
It's not safe for the child because it's
a learned behavior.
It's a learned behavior. It's teaching the child to be abusive and not respect. So if it's
to be either abusive or to be accepting of
abuse, right? Yeah. So like if it's a little boy and the dad's beating up on the mom, so now you're teaching this little boy that it's okay to be disrespectful to women, right? And we can do this scenario back and forth. That's a little girl, the mom is abusive to the dad, whatever, because there's some simpy dads out there nowadays. Or missing dads. So
that's a big factor.
That's a big factor too. So, you know, all of these things have a big role to play in kids growing up. So put that to where who's a kid's biggest babysitter for the first, 9 years of their life? It's the schools.
Yeah.
Schools babysit kids for, 8 hours a day or whatever it is. And whatever they are taught and learnt there, well, that's what it is. So there's a reason that schools were originally tried to figure out, you have playtime because you're teaching a lot of social skills. Kids need to learn how to build mud pies together and how to build sandcastles and climb ropes and, do all these kind of things that are, and then sports and things like that to play together to, create bonds and teams, but to strive to be better than the other team kind of thing. And all of these things are really, to prepare you for a lifelong journey of work.
So let me just tell you a little story, something that I saw on social media. Man, I'm telling you, I'm in the borderline of just Xing out all social media because I'm getting sick of it. But kind of because of the podcast, we have to kind of stay on that thing.
Yeah.
But I saw two videos that were ingrained in my head today and between yesterday and today. One was of this mom who has 4 children, and every single one of them are transgender. Every single one of them.
Yeah.
Okay. First off,
it's impossible.
That statistically, that's impossible, right? Yeah. That just like upsets me. The next one, this little kid, boy, I believe, 4 years old, so barely learning. He's walking, but barely kind of stumbling. You know how when kids learn to walk, they're kind of like really heavy foot and stuff like that. At a gay pride event with a dress on, using they them pronoun. The mom is saying, "Oh, they." And I'm thinking, this kid doesn't even know the difference between like Lego blocks and the Duplo Legos, those big fake ones. You know what I mean? He doesn't even know the difference between that, and he identifies as they them. Stuff like that, Jay, is what
it's learned, man. Learned behaviors.
As a parent, I sit there and I'm so disappointed in society. I see that, I'm like, how could you do that to your child? How could you, teach them that your stupidity? How could you pass that on? A parent is supposed to improve, make life easier and better for their children, not make it harder, right? And I see that, and I'm thinking, I'm so disappointed. So I think now let's take it a step back, or higher, I should say, not back. Imagine God looking down at his children, us, and seeing this, right? And seeing exactly what I saw in an Instagram or a TikTok or whatever, but he sees it in the whole world. How disappointing could that be, right? I'm disappointed in two videos, and I lose my mind. God sees it every day, all the time, everywhere, right? And how disappointed do you think he's going to be?
If it wasn't for him telling us that we wouldn't be destroyed by water again, I'd be building an ark already.
Yeah, I mean, I got a fire suit just in case, but you know what I mean. But here's the thing, guys, and this is just, again, we are Christians. We are non-denominational Christians. Everyone out there needs to pick up their cross and deal with their own, right? Whether it's what religion it is, whether you pray to the Cabbage Patch Kids or whatever it is that you do, but you have to understand that praying is good. It's a start, but I think we need to look inside of each other, and kind of see like what kind of life we're living. Like, is this beneficial to our children? Is this beneficial to mankind? I mean, we are so selfish, right? I mean, things are hard. We get it. Things are hard for everybody, but are we so selfish that we can't see outside our own bubble? Like, are we so into ourselves, too quick to go into Starbucks and to wherever it is that we want to go to, and not really stop for that person who is homeless, who needs a blanket? We have like 50 blankets. We toss out blankets because like, it's not the fashion anymore. Like, I'm giving up my tiger blanket that we buy in Mexico and getting a new tiger one, right? Because you can't see the tiger anymore. And it's all faded, right? So instead of throwing it away or giving it to Goodwill, who in turn gets a profit out of it, I mean, why not go out there and help fellow man, right? Why not? You know what? Yeah. You know what, Jay? I ate like 3 cheeseburgers today. I think this fourth one I might have to give it away. You know what I mean? I mean, how hard is that to do, right?
He didn't think of me at all.
Well, you were at work. But the thing is, how hard is it for us to show some kind of human kindness to our fellow man?
That's right.
And I think that's where it starts. And I think that there's I think big things could happen to our society if we allow ourselves to stop being selfish and stop thinking about just ourselves and think about our neighbors, right? Think about each other, think about what's going on. And we could get out of this, hopefully get a couple more years out of life. But honestly, if you think about it, if we are being good like that, and we are going to get a lot out of it, right?
Absolutely.
And one, ourselves, we're going to feel good about it, right? We're helping our fellow man or fellow neighbor, right? And two, it's going to start filling that emptiness that you feel inside,
right?
Little bit of drops at a time until it's overflowing. And at that point, man, you're gonna be 100% flowing, right? You're gonna be like, cheeseburger for you, blanket for you. You know what I mean? You're gonna be going to church and all kinds of stuff. But it's just food for thought. I think this topic was very interesting for me, only because like growing up Catholic, now being non-denominational, and thinking about like my life, I'm like, yeah, this is kind of it's scary, but it's good to know.
Well, I would like to pose this to folks, and if anybody's out there that needs help, we always at the end of our videos, and we're going to change our format here pretty soon. Sorry, we haven't had a lot of extra hours to do some of the formatting and everything. But towards the end of our video, we have a bunch of phone numbers we've had on here since the day we started this for things to get help, so you can hang on and check those out. But one of the things I want to say is that if you are running around this world in kind of a darkness and, things are never going your way and everything, start to really think about, the people you hang out with and the things you think about all the time and how much time you spend on social media and all these kind of things. As much as we like to say stuff about the younger generation and social media, I really believe the older generation's downfall has been CNN,
and their disconnect to the younger generation.
Yeah, and their disconnect to the younger generation. But, people have watched TV and media for so many years, and they believe verbatim everything that's being said on there. So,
didn't we tell them to unplug the other day?
Yeah, we did. I highly recommend that. If there's one consensus I know that I've seen over the years is people that unplugged, and the farther back that they unplugged. And when I say that, that means no more cable. You're not watching TV. You're not watching, network news and all that kind of stuff. It really changes your views. It's pretty crazy to see the people that are still plugged in and hooked into all that stuff and how much their views differ.
Oh yeah.
But they're all the same over there. And the people that are unplugged are over here. If you don't think there's some kind of catch to that, there definitely is. So not to leave this on it is the end of times deal. So the last scripture piece I'm going to give you is Matthew 24:21. For then there will be great distress, unequaled from the beginning of the world until now, and never to be equaled again. So just know that, there's going to be some great tribulations is what it's called, things that are going to have to happen. And, it's going to get worse before it gets better. But here's the thing. There's a lot of hope in there is that, there's a lot of folks that are walking around, that have filled that hole in their heart and made things a lot better. And for anybody that says, well, I have a Christian friend that's had a lot of hard times and everything, becoming Christian doesn't make life instantly easier and everything. We still have the same bills to pay and all that. And in fact,
the same problems.
The same problems that everybody else has. And in fact, as time's going on, it's actually worse. Just like it's stated in the Bible, again, more prophecy stuff. Christians were persecuted back then, and it's becoming more and more so now that Christians are persecuted at this time. So, yeah, pretty interesting. Also, one more little thing is make sure you join us. What is it, next week?
Yeah.
That we're going to have
mid-month Wednesdays.
Yeah, mid-month Wednesday, Outspoken men's edition. So
good stuff coming up, man. Really good stuff.
Yeah. And that kind of pipes into some of the stuff we were talking about, people having, mental health problems and things like that. So make sure you check that out.
Yeah.
And especially if you're a dude and if you're a gal and you have any comments on it, we'd love to hear it from you. So.
Absolutely. Hey guys, there was one thing you mentioned about friends and people you surround yourself with is important, things like that.
It is.
There's this saying, it's a Spanish saying, but my dad used to tell me when I was a kid, and in turn I told my kids, it's like, tell me who your friends are and I'll tell you who you are. Right. Because clearly we grow up around our friends, and it's like a learned environment is whatever they're doing is what we do.
Mm-hmm.
So it's important that, you guys surround yourself with positive people, good people. You know what I mean? And that's going to be a good Kickstarter to start doing the right thing, and hopefully get you to come back to church, right? Any church that you want, anything that you are comfortable in, but at least have some direction and a little bit of inner peace. I think this place would be a better place for us all.
Absolutely. All right, everyone. Well, thanks for joining us. Hopefully you have a great week, and we're excited that you came and checked us out again. Again, if you are new here, please subscribe and check out some of our older videos that we had. And
don't make fun of us, man. Some of the old videos I had hair. Just kidding. I've never had hair. I'm just kidding. But yeah, thanks for joining us, guys. Really appreciate it.
Yep. Remember, take care of one another.
Do better, be better.
And as always, God bless America.
We'll see you.